Okay, welcome back everybody. Today we're just going to have so much fun laying on the ground underneath my 2014 Mazda 5. We're going to change the oil. So we're going to have to jack up the car a little bit. And I used to have a couple of 2008 Mazdas, and I'm really happy that now they have the spin-on filter for a few years now, because that canister one was a bummer. I mean, it wasn't the end of the world, but come on. Anyway, let's get the car jacked up and we can get started. But first, you can do something for me. Thank you very much. That really helps me out. And how do I look in this beautiful Demetrius style hat? Okay, let's get started. And for a little added security, see, I already have my jack back there. And I just got this one here. It's not really, it's just there, just in case. So now we can start draining this oil. So the oil plug is a 17 millimeter. You're asking, why does a guy who's 64 years old, who's got arthritis, who's beat up, why does he do this? Because I don't trust people, especially with oil changes and brakes. People are just, I don't know. I'll be feeling this tomorrow. No, I'll probably feel it today. There we go. I'm weak. Try not to drop this into the oil pan. And try not to get oil all over your hand. You could always wear gloves, which is probably the preferred method. This oil has 10,000 miles on it. I use synthetic and I changed it at 10,000. I mean, if it was a, high performance race car that I drag raced or something, I'd probably do it quite a bit less. But for a street car, 10,000 miles with synthetic, no problem. I gotta go to the bathroom. This is the worst thing here. I have the worst drain pan. It just is so hard to pour that into a jug. It goes everywhere. It makes a mess. I need to get one. So I'll let this drain a little bit more. Now I know it seemed like the nut was really tight. I'm just weak and I'm at a tough angle. Don't do these too tight. Just make them, snug, as my dad used to say. Let me move this a little bit. Okay, now we'll get this pesky Fram filter off. Okay, I've got the lid to a coffee can, but it's got to be Folgers because I don't want to drop this into my oil bucket. All right, here we go. This should be pretty easy. Oh my God, I'm getting old. Come on now. She's turning slowly. No more monkey grip. Okay. We certainly don't want to drop it in there and splash it. Let's let it. We'll let her drain a little bit. You can see here, oil's pretty well used. Not like terrible, but that's 10,000 miles. I never worry about what brand. I just want synthetic. I don't care what it says on it. I'm not worried about being brand loyal. Okay, here we go. If it was a motorcycle, I might. Texas T. Don't drop it. Okay, we'll wipe it off. See how this is easy so far, huh? No big deal changing your own oil. I'm not going to let someone else do it, that's for sure. Okay, now I can let some of this drain out, and I'll put it in that coffee lid so it won't get all over the place. Okay, I'm using another Fram filter, and I admit, you know, when people say to rub some oil, clean oil on the rubber seal, I always use old oil, but today I'm going to use clean oil because I don't want to set a bad example, because that wouldn't be nice, would it? And I'll rub all this old oil off. There we go. Pretty simple. And I probably don't need to do this nearly as tight as... It's easy to make it tight. You see, I had a little bit of trouble getting it off. I'd rather have it a little tight than too loose. But just hand tight. There, that should be good. So that's pretty much everything's buttoned up down here. Okay, now instead of putting the oil back into a container like this, I'm just going to put it right into here, because this oil pan is horrible. So I'm going to let you watch me do it. We'll see if I make a mess. It's just really flimsy and it's awful, but it should be able to just go right into this. Yeah, this is the ticket. That is the ticket. Much better. And we'll just let it drain. That turned out good. Okay, so now I just keep adding the oil until I see it on the dipstick. If it would stop moving around, oh my God, it's giving me a headache. So it's just starting on the dipstick. I'm going to put a little bit more in the motor. So at this point, I'm going to start the engine and let the oil filter fill up. Although some people fill the oil filter with oil. I don't think that's a bad idea, but I didn't do that. Okay. See the oil pressure there. So when I first start it, let's see if you hear any. Sometimes the motors will make a weird noise when you first start them, when you change the oil. That sounded pretty good. Let that run for a second. Oil pressure light is gone, which is good. So we'll just let it run for a couple of minutes, and then we'll check it again. All this is the oil from the top engine mount. Oh, better watch my hand there, huh? Thought I felt something. Yeah, it's all, this is oil filled, and it's ruptured, and it went all over up in the hood. I'm like, what happened? But it's a pretty easy mount to change. I'll get to it one of these days. Terribly dirty. In the old days, I never did this, but now I'm an old man, so. Put a little bit more in. Well, this is the first time I didn't have enough oil with a gallon. So I'm going to have to, I used that whole gallon jug down there. I like to make it absolutely perfect on the upper mark. And one thing I've noticed that Mazdas have never used oil. Even my 2008, when it had 182,000 miles, it still didn't use oil between oil changes, you know, because it wasn't a Volkswagen or an Audi. Anyway, yeah, I gotta have to go in the back and get a little more oil. So that's just about covering that top hole. So it's perfect. And when I change the oil in 10,000 miles, I'm sure it'll be right at that level, because it's a Mazda. So that wraps up this oil change. I told you how it was easy. That last part, keeping adding oil till it gets to the perfect spot, that takes a little bit of time. But you don't want to overfill it, because that, that can take a time. You don't, sometimes if you put too much oil in an engine, you may end up stuck on the side of the road. I had that happen once with a motorcycle with a Seika 550. I put too much oil in it, got into the airbox, got on the plugs, and in a very bad neighborhood, I barely made it out. But anyway, it took more than a gallon, just a little bit more than a gallon. That could have been a little shy, because I don't ever remember. I don't think I've ever had to add more than a gallon, but I did here. So that's a Mazda 5 oil change, a Mazda 5 with the regular spin-on filter. Well, now you see me shaved. But anyway, that's how you change the oil on a 2014 Mazda 5. Now, if you have a 2008 or older Mazda 5, you don't have a spin-on filter. You have a filter like this. It's not the end of the world. It's a little messier when you change your oil. And what happened was in 2009, I think in June, they changed to the spin-on. So 2010 and newer, all spin-on. 2008 and older, all cartridge. And 2009, kind of half and half. So, I mean, if I found a 2009 that I wanted, a Mazda 5 that was in nice shape, and I saw, oh, it's the earlier one with the cartridge filter, that wouldn't stop me from buying it. I've already been there, done that. Got the t-shirt. But, I mean, it makes it a little, if you change your own oil, it's just a little messier. If you've recently bought a Mazda 5 and it's a 2009, make sure that you got the right oil filter, because you might buy a spin-on one and it won't work. So all you got to do is stick your head underneath your car and look. If it's a cartridge filter, it looks like this. Then you just buy the cartridge style. But you have to have the tool that goes over the plastic housing. It looks like this. Well, thanks for tuning in. I hope that the people who have never done an oil change might think, well, this isn't that hard. If this old fool can do it, I can do it too. No, it's not that hard. Just a couple common sense things to remember. Don't tighten the oil pan bolt too much. Don't over tighten it. And don't tighten the spin-on filter too much, because you'll have trouble getting it off. And don't overfill the oil. Those are the three basic things you got to watch out for. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. You can hit the like, subscribe would really be great. And I don't know why I'm waving my hands around like Scotty Gilmore. I will see you next time. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.